Hello, this is Kaz and Risk, and welcome back to Koppai Podcast, episode 17. I am one of your hosts, Kaz and Risk, joined alongside Mr. Koppai himself, my brother, Zach Risk.
Koppai Nation.
Hey, and today we have a very, very special guest, Gray Hogan, over from Operation Supply Drop. Hello, hello. Round of applause.
Hey, you call me special. That makes me feel special.
You are special. No, welcome to the show, Gray. You're the community manager over at Operation Supply Drop, and a Navy veteran. Thank you very much so for your service.
Absolutely.
And in case people listening, tuning in, don't know, Operation Supply Drop is, and correct me if I'm wrong in any of these details, or if you want to elaborate farther, go ahead. It's a charity organization that raises money for veterans. And provides them with support with a focus on gaming, which
Let me help you out there.
There you go.
Because I have some experience with this, So what Operation Supply Drop, their whole goal is to make fun where there is none. And we do that we don't really raise money for veterans. What we do is we help them through gaming.
Okay.
And I know that sounds really nebulous, so I can break that down. And we'll talk about it a little more later. But basically, we help. The main thing is that we do supply drops for active duty deployed. And we, in those supply drops, we'll give them what's called a games case, which has a hard shell on it. So kind of like a Pelican case, if you've ever seen one of those.
Yeah.
It'll have an HD monitor in it that fits right in there. It'll have controllers, and it'll have a system in there. I haven't heard a whole lot of call for any Wii's, but we have definitely done Xbox Ones and PS4s, and we're getting ready to do a PC variant as well. So That's what we do. That's the main thing that we do, and sometimes it takes money to do that because we don't exactly ship it via UPS.
Oh yeah, you can't just use Amazon Prime to get it over.
Yeah, Prime doesn't work really in Afghanistan. They haven't gotten there yet. But that's the main thing. I'll talk about the other stuff we do a little later on.
Yeah, definitely. We'll for those listening, we'll have an interview portion with Gray later on in the podcast after we get through some of the rigmarole and the news and the housekeeping and stuff. But yeah, very, very happy to have you on, and
Thank you.
I'm excited to learn more about that. We've done our homework and stuff and try to look into Operation Supply Drop and 8-Bit Salute, but there's always more to know. We would definitely want to show it off to the audience, and so yeah, we'll talk more about that later. But also for other sort of housekeeping for the listeners, if you're tuning in to check out Operation Supply Drop, this is a Nintendo podcast where each and every week we sit down and we talk about everything Nintendo, from the 3DS, the Wii U, previous retro games, into the upcoming NX, with rumors and stuff. And so if you do enjoy what you are listening to, be sure to like and subscribe to get that weekly content. And we also have a Patreon page where if you support us for even just $1, you can get exclusive episodes every month. And starting this month, you're going to be able to have access to the archive of our episodes and then new episodes moving forward. And so the dollar deal just keeps getting better and better.
Patreon is the ultimate way to go for things like this. I'm surprised
absolutely.
more people aren't doing it.
Yeah, whenever we tell people and stuff about Patreon and they don't know it yet, they're just completely impressed with the idea, and it's an awesome way to go. And so this month our special episode is on The Legend of Zelda and the 30th anniversary. So we're going to be talking about the Emily Rogers rumors, about Link's gender, some of the previous stuff that I've written that's been featured by IGN about Link and Zelda, as well as just a look back on the franchise. Zach's been playing a lot of Twilight Princess. I'm going to be trying to check out Triforce Heroes tonight and get some impressions on that, as well as the other games. And so that's over there. And once again, you can follow us on Twitter at Koppai Media and find us on Facebook and all of that. And if you share any of our stuff and follow us anywhere, you're entered to win 2 Amiibo for the month of April. And so lots of stuff to give away and lots of stuff to listen to and consume and watch and entertainment. And so if you're new with us today, there's been no better time to jump on the Koppai Nation. But I think with all of that being said, with the introduction and with the rigmarole of Koppai stuff, unless I'm missing anything, Zach, I think you can go ahead and take us down that Nintendo pipeline.
Yeah, unclog it for us.
Unclog it for us.
Hey, if only you knew a plumber from Nintendo that could help out with that.
I know Mario. If you want to be on the show,
Oh, come
Yeah,
we'd
on,
love to have you.
Waluigi. It'd
Yeah,
have to be Waluigi.
yeah. Shout out to Mario, Bill Trennan. If you want to be on the show, we'll have you on.
yeah. It was
Or,
kind of a what? Sorry.
I was just gonna say no, like Charles. Once we get Charles Marnet on the show, the voice actor for
Yes.
Mario, we'll have to have him pre-record a bunch of things that we can use in other podcasts.
Koppai Productions.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be perfect. Yeah, it was kind of a slower week for Nintendo. We don't have a ton of news. We actually have mostly rumors this week, like the Emily Rogers rumor about Zelda, which we'll talk about in that podcast. But we have some NX rumors as always, and a couple like a Mario Maker story and some Mitomo news. But starting off with the rumors, we have heard that Monolith Productions could be making a game for the Nintendo NX, and
Ooh.
Monolith Productions are the team that created Middle Earth Shadow of Mordor, which was really popular, well received, and they've recently advertised for a quality assurance manager position for their studio. And what's interesting is that they ask the candidate has the following certification standards of Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo.
Mm.
So it's seeming like they're working on some sort of project for Nintendo, and it would be most likely that they're working on the Nintendo NX because most third parties are not really supporting the Wii U,
Yeah.
and we're kind of all starting to move on to the NX now. So it's seeming that most likely Monolith Productions is, if they're making a game for Nintendo, it would be for the Nintendo NX, and it could possibly be the follow up to Middle Earth Shadow of Mordor. So we
Yeah.
might find out more about that at E3 in June.
Yeah, it makes a ton of sense. There's another rumor coming up here, but I just want to take one thing from it about the NX possibly being announced or unveiled this month. It's reasons like this with the whole concept of E3 showing off a bunch of new games for the Xbox One and PS4. Um, you would think that the NX name needs to be out there relatively soon if companies like Monolith are going to be wanting to announce, hey, our game's also coming to the NX, and show it up on the stage when they're showing off their game. And so
Hmm.
if they're just unveiling the NX at E3, it's going to be kind of tricky for them for other conferences that may be happening on Sunday or Monday for them to show off their game and not
Yeah.
say that it's coming for the NX. And so another reason I think that they'll be showing off before. But yeah, my roommate's been playing a ton of Shadow of Mordor. Looks like a really awesome game
Yeah.
and very beautiful and has lots of this cool mechanics with the Nemesis system. And so
What it kind
I,
of
I,
excited.
I
what?
got to disagree with you there a little bit. I don't think that Nintendo is going to do anything but the NX at E3 because it is such a big space for them,
Yeah.
and it's not really for us. It's not for the people who play games. E3
That's
is really
true.
more for the industry. So I would think that they would definitely put it out at E3 if they
Mm,
were going to put it out this year.
Do you think
yeah.
though? Do you think they would go about with maybe a direct of some sorts, or maybe like a big showcase in April or May, but then use E3 as a platform to show off like maybe the actual console, similar to what PlayStation did with the PlayStation 4?
No, because if you'll remember, Nintendo really likes to do things at E3. I mean,
Yeah.
they don't really, at least in my memory, they don't do things prior to that because they don't get the exposure.
That's true. Yeah,
Yeah.
they
It's yeah.
they've been experimenting with the different directs and stuff, but that is true that Nintendo, I mean, they definitely play like by their own rules and stuff compared to like maybe where the industry is, and if they are inclined to do E3, they'll stick with E3, but
And they
yeah,
do need more corporate buy-in. I mean,
yeah,
the Wii was a soft reception. Wii U was a soft reception.
Yeah.
They want to get back to their former glory, and really, I think that E3 is a good way for them to do that. Whether or not they do that is completely up to them. They
Yeah.
might do it at PAX. You never know.
Hmm.
that's true. Yeah, PAX is. Yeah, I'm also thinking like we had the confusion with the Wii U and the gamepad, and people were like, "Is this a new console? Is this?"
Yep.
And that was with the whole world looking at E3, and so they may, like you're saying, they may be kind of afraid to have that kind of soft launch or soft exposure by having it anywhere else other than E3. So I hadn't really thought of that perspective. That's interesting.
It also makes me wonder if Monolith or some of these third-party developers that are starting to maybe jump on to the NX, often when Sony has their conference or Microsoft has their conference, they announce a lot of these third-party studio games that they kind of use, like Bethesda will maybe use their game as like use Sony's conference to announce some of their big
Hmm.
games that are coming out. And I'm wondering if since the NX is getting some more of that third-party support, maybe one of those companies will choose to go with Nintendo to announce their big new third-party game that's going to be on multi-platforms, and they actually get one of those big announcements that they're really not known for the past few years. Really, they kind of go out and announce their Captain Toads and the
Yeah.
new Mario game that's coming out, but they never really come out with a new like Shadow of Mordor or a new Doom or something that's a big third-party game or something like what is that new game coming out that Until Dawn and
Hmm.
those kinds of games that are really big multi-platform games, but are also in Far Cry usually used on those big Microsoft Sony conferences and never really seen on the Nintendo scale. And I think that if they did grab one of those games, that it would be big news for Nintendo and good exposure if they were able to nab something like that.
Yeah,
So that'd be
definitely.
cool to see. Um, but yeah, we have another NX rumor, actually. Verified Reddit user Untyped Hero, who recently posted the rumor about NX having x86 architecture, has posted another thread on Reddit with even more alleged information on Nintendo's upcoming console. And the user touched on amiibo functionality, the DDR4 memory, and the rumor that the NX is capable of outputting in 4K, which we did hear a little rumor about that when we got the leaks that the screen would be like 900p
Yeah, the
and
portable screen.
yeah. So I'm not going to go through all of the details, but some of the most important probably were that at least one third-party Wii U game has been successfully ported to the NX. There are multiple gimmicks with the NX, and one is optional. So I thought that was
Mm.
kind of interesting. The NX is capable of outputting in 4K. Consensus is upscaling and streaming, which was kind of rumored, I guess, because people figured when people are streaming from Twitch and things like that, we might be able to go up to the 4K streaming, but it might not actually be games itself playing in
Yeah.
4K. And also that they had mentioned that friend codes are still a thing, but actually they're saying that friend code wasn't the correct term. You can only add people you know, which I thought was an interesting point because Mitomo, as we know, has kind of got an interesting friend adding system where you now add through Facebook and Twitter
Yeah.
and your Nintendo account instead of through friend code. So I was thinking that kind of maybe makes sense and maybe add some credibility to the league because they've kind of moved to this newer way of adding friends and ditching the old friend code route. So that's that rumor, and I thought that those were probably the most interesting points of the leak. So
Yeah,
what do you
the
make of that?
Mitomo thing's interesting. Although, I mean, they could have, I mean, to view all these rumors and stuff with like an eye of kind of maybe skepticism and stuff. Like they could have just been like, oh yeah, forget friend codes because they saw maybe that Mitomo didn't use friend codes, and then they don't want to
Yeah,
they want to
yeah,
give some credibility to their leak and stuff or their rumor. But I mean, no, I mean, even if some of this stuff is confirmed or not confirmed, some of it just seems kind of like all that makes sense, you know, for there to be the third party support and for there to be Nintendo gimmicks and stuff, but some of them being optional. I mean, I feel like you could say that about a lot of their consoles where it's like
Well,
they
like
have
Connect was optional,
yeah, and
obviously.
so, and even the gamepad in some regards is optional for
yeah.
some games, and for other things, the Wiimote was optional, and so
Hmm.
that's always a thing with Nintendo. And so, I mean, all of these, fake or not, um, aren't really completely groundbreaking. I'm happy to hear that Amiibo are still supported because I have, I think, over 50 Amiibo on my shelf,
Yeah,
and I don't want them to go to waste, even though you could argue that they're already a waste. I don't think I mean, they look pretty. So, but no, that those are all kind of some cool things, and it's just going to be once again as we get to these upcoming months. I mean, whether we get an announcement in April or May or they wait till E3, there's going to be little trickles of information. I think coming out regardless, whether it's from Nintendo or from other people leaking information,
yeah,
and I just can't wait. I mean, I think the general consensus, if it's not already confirmed, is that we're gonna know at least by E3. Like it's not gonna E3 is not gonna come and go, and there's no NX. I
yeah.
would think is the general like, all right, we're all on the same page there, and so
Hmm.
it's cool to know that starting in June and starting in July, we're gonna be able to have Koppai podcasts where there's we know what this console is and what it looks like and what it's capable of doing for the most part. And I can't wait for the spec. As fun as the speculation is, all these rumors are starting to get a little, oh my gosh, what is this actual thing gonna do?
I know. They just need to announce it already. It's getting
Hmm.
ridiculous now. We have our emergency declaration of announce the Nintendo NX. Nintendo needs to just do it already because it seems like 2 years now that we've been talking about this NX console and just wondering what it is. And
Yeah.
here,
2 years, that's it.
yeah,
In my day,
yeah,
we had to wait 20 years and we liked it.
I don't
yeah,
like
that's
it
true.
one bit. I guess, I mean, well, some people, I mean, you have the whole Final Fantasy thing going on right now. People have waited 10 years for a game, you
Yeah, that's
know.
true.
We can wait 2 years for a console, but I don't know. Yeah, it's just, I think just because it's Nintendo and because of the way the Wii U was handled. Like if the Wii U would have been like what the PS4 is now, like no one's clamoring to know what the PS5 is going to be like. Like they,
Yeah,
the most part, people know what the PlayStation 5 will be, what the Xbox 2 will be. You know, I mean, it's going to be what we've known and loved, but it's going to be refined operating system and better computing graphics and stuff. Like it's just going to, for the most part, be what we already know. Like PlayStation VR is definitely a question, and HoloLens is definitely a question, and there's excitement around all of that, and to get those on the market. But for even that, for the most part, like they're being very open about it, and you can take a guess. But Nintendo is, we have no idea what this console will be. For all we know, it could be a PlayStation with Nintendo games, or it could be a 3DS that connects to your TV, or it could be an iPhone that has the computing power of a console, or it could, I mean, or it could be a Wii U too. I mean, there's so many. It could be this, and
uh-huh.
not only it could be those, but each one makes just as much sense as the next one, according to the rumors that we've got. So I don't know. I'm just excited to have it finally, but.
Yeah, and it's almost here too.
Hmm.
But yeah, moving on, Mitomo, of course,
Mitomo.
received 1.6 million downloads in its first 4 days. 1,600,000 downloads in the United States during the first 4 days that followed its March 30th release. Number includes iOS and Android devices. However, it doesn't include the days Mitomo spent at the top of the download charts on both platforms through the majority of this week.
Yeah.
The most interesting news I thought was that the United States is also the region that likes the game the most. 51% of Mitomo's install base comes from the US, more than any other territory. Other top regions were Great Britain, France, Germany, and Canada. They all represented less than 10% of downloads each.
Which
So
is
that,
weird.
yeah.
With Japan, didn't Japan catch on to it pretty quickly, or?
Yeah, and they had the game like a week in advance too. So I thought that
Yeah.
was interesting. But I guess the United States has been really a buzz about what Nintendo's first mobile game is going to be like.
Mm.
So I'm not sure. I know that there was just a lot of hype around them finally releasing it, and maybe that Japan got it first and people were experimenting with that, and then all jumped on to the final retail release once they pushed it in the US stores. I'm not sure, but yeah, that's pretty good news, I guess. It's been doing
Yeah.
so great, and you mentioned that it had like 14,000 reviews compared to
Yeah,
like Snapchat's.
yeah, I messed up a little bit there because I checked on the charts and people were posting these pictures on the sales charts or the review charts of Mitomo, and Mitomo was like at the top of the App Store featured list, and it had 11,000 positive reviews, about 4 stars, and so, and then like Snapchat and Facebook had like 900 each. What I failed to realize was that the App Store only displays that current version's reviews. And if you want to look into it deeper, you can check out how many reviews it has over all of the previous updates and stuff. And so Snapchat and Facebook have like hundreds of thousands of
Oh,
positive
yeah.
reviews
Yeah, that
over
makes
the
sense.
course of all their updates.
Yeah.
Mitomo sitting pretty at about 11,000. So
Yeah.
the internet got a little excited there with Mitomo when they were like, yeah, we're taking over Facebook and stuff. It's like, no, you're not. But
Yeah.
that being said, I've seen people on my college campus and at work that are picking up Mitomo and at least trying it out and really loving it. Like our fiancés are loving it, and they are not gamers in the traditional sense. And this game isn't a game in the traditional sense, but I mean, people are really engaging with it and answering questions and having fun with it and trying to do the Mitomo drops. And we have a review discussion over on Koppai's SoundCloud and YouTube. And so if you want to check those out, you can. But we definitely love the game, and so it's definitely interesting to see. And we'll no doubt have, I think, a continued success. People are kind of starting to trickle now, where they're either talking about it and other people are downloading it. But I think as updates come out, it'll continuously stay fresh.
Hmm.
And I think once the NX comes out and we find out that the whole concept of Mii's and Miitomo and the My Nintendo Network and that whole brand is kind of all intertwined within the Miiverse, I think we'll see another resurgence in Miitomo, and I think
Yeah.
Nintendo will probably feed into that. But Gray, have you been playing any Miitomo or?
I have not.
Oh, Gray.
Unfortunately, I gave my Wii to my parents. They really liked it. And to be fair, I don't get to play many games. I know that sounds crazy. I'm in charge of a thing that does games, but yeah, that I don't get to play much, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's on your. It should be on your mobile phone if you want to head to the App Store. You can add us as a mutual friend, and we
Let's
can.
see, the App Store, that would be on an Apple phone, correct?
Oh, are you an Android user?
Yeah, I am an Android
Oh,
user
I
because
get
I
that's.
know how to use computers. I know it's
Oh,
crazy. Yeah.
well, Zach, you have a Samsung, right?
Yes, I do.
All
And
right.
it's on the Google Play Store, so you can also get it on there. And it also
Okay.
works like on both platforms. So like Kaz, you have the iOS, and we're both
Mhm.
friends on there, so it works on both. And I think it's also on like iPad and stuff like that too, but it's not, I believe, on the Surface or anything like that. So
And the Microsoft or the Windows phones, it's not
yeah,
on. But yeah, no, I love it on. I've used it a few times on my iPad, and it's basically just the iPhone version, very much so enlarged, and
yeah,
doesn't look too pretty on there
uh,
because it just starts to get kind of stretched. I don't think they really planned for people to be using on their iPad and stuff. But I tried
yeah.
it once. Yeah, with my 6S screen, it's been really nice. It's more area to kind of answer the questions, but no doubt Miitomo will continue to be a success and stuff. But
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see when they bring out like the first major update for it. When
mhm,
maybe they start seeing that the players are maybe starting to dive down a little bit and they need to bring it back up and see when those waves kind of hit of major updates instead of just these drop updates.
mhm.
But yeah, really cool, really exciting to see what comes next. What's really interesting is we got some Splatoon news randomly.
Yeah.
Thought we were basically done with our Splatoon updates, but this Tuesday we're getting an update to Splatoon, and they're going to be adding 8 new weapons known as Sheldon's Picks Volume 1. The new weapons include the Wasabi Splattershot, Berry Splattershot, Pro, Fresh Squiffer, and the Permanent Ink Brush. So yeah,
Gotta get on that fresh squiffer.
yeah, the Fresh Squiffer.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, no, I mean, not too much to cover here. We need to get back into Splatoon
Definitely.
soon and hopefully do some Let's Plays in May or some live streaming of Splatoon in May. But yeah, it's just interesting that Sheldon's Picks Volume 1, so no doubt there'll be continuous updates with Sheldon's Picks
Mhm.
and more volumes to come. And I wouldn't be surprised if this was an NX port later on this year. If they do like Splatoon with all of the DLC, or I guess it hasn't really been too much paid DLC, but
Yeah.
probably a refined version or something coming to the NX.
Yeah, it makes me
And
think like what since their whole free DLC plan seemed almost like it was building up the game into its actual finalized form, and
mhm,
it now seems like possibly within the next few months or maybe even at E3 we'll hear of a actual DLC pack that costs money and is
yeah,
actually a real expansion of the game instead of just completing their half finished game that they released initially, which is
yeah,
now awesome, but yeah.
yeah, definitely worth the $60 now. I think it's actually probably gone down in price,
Yeah,
so
probably.
definitely worth picking up. But yeah, moving forward.
Pokemon news, Pokemon Go field testing expanded to Australia and New Zealand. And that's just interesting because they're expanding it, so hopefully it'll get to the US sometime. That's what I'm hoping, and we'll be able to test it out way
Yeah.
months in advance and give our feedback to Nintendo about it.
Yeah, let Bill Trennan know.
Yeah.
But yeah, in our final news story of the week, we have a little bit of sad news for Zach.
Yeah.
Nintendo has outlined their Super Mario Maker guidelines over course deletion. And since Super Mario Maker came out last year, some players have been affected by the levels being removed by Nintendo over the course of, or courses being disappeared or just deleted for no reason, and then incapable of being re-uploaded. The company's support page has some new guidelines on these, and they kind of include low stars if people aren't playing your levels, if there's bugs, if people are requesting stars, like if your level says, "Hey, like this level," or "Yeah," or even this has the word like the star symbol in it, it's probably going to be deleted, or other what Nintendo deems to be inappropriate content. And Zach, you must have had some low star, buggy, begging, inappropriate level because you were a victim of the Nintendo deletion.
Yeah.
We reported on a little girl having her level deleted
Mm.
a few weeks ago, and you're right in that little girl's same boat now.
Yeah, my
Um,
level Boo was deleted when I went on just yesterday, I think it was, to work on a level and just see what my new star count was. I noticed that Boo had been deleted from the server, and I was actually wondering if it's possibly they thought it was I was requesting stars from other users because I just had the exclamation point and it was just one simple little boo or something, and I was maybe asking for likes or yes or something, or just it had maybe only people were getting to the first little area and not going past that. I'm not sure how the algorithm really chose it. I did suspect maybe it was because of like the exclamation point at the end of the name.
that's
I'm
weird
not
though.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
not
not really
right.
sure about why exactly, but what was unfortunate was that I can't re-upload it even if I do changes to make it easier for people to play or make,
Hmm.
something like that. If I do any changes and save it to a new slot, it completely will not let me upload, and if I change the name, it will not let me upload. So basically, that level is just done for, and I worked hours on it, and now
Yeah,
it's
that's
just
weird.
gone.
I
Yeah,
wonder if there's a way to, I mean, and we'll look more into it, if there's some sort of way to cheat the system and get your level on there, because
yeah,
it's going to be unfortunate where it's like if a level's misreported or some sort of bug or something is basically brings a level down or off the servers without like the proper cause or something. I wonder if there has to be some sort of way to fix that because yeah, like you said, I believe it also removes the stars that you get from the level. So if I have a level like my question block one that gets removed, that's going to be really unfortunate. But yeah,
yeah,
leave comments down below if you have any sort of experience with that, and also just a PSA, like don't ask people for stars or likes.
yeah.
Or even sometimes it can just be, I mean, if you use the word yeah or like, I mean, if you just say like maybe you leave a little note at the start of your level and say, "Hey, let me know if you like this or what you like."
Hmm.
That can just be deemed as you're asking for likes, or even if you just use the word like "Let's a go," yeah, like they're gonna think you're asking for likes, and
Yeah,
so be cautious about that and try to stay away from inappropriate content. I wonder if for some reason the word "boo" was inappropriate. I don't know
yeah.
um, if that's some sort of term or slang in some other area or
It's
culture or
one of their
something.
own enemies, though. A Boo is one
Yeah,
of the Mario characters,
that's
so
true. Yeah. But yeah, getting to the topic of the show, Gray, thank you for your patience in getting to the news. Sorry that
Hey man, Nintendo stuff. I mean, that's what y'all are all about. It's all good. And you know what? I'm actually sitting here and I'm making my what you call it here
your little me.
my yes my Mitomo. Yes.
oh
That's
yeah,
awesome.
we added another person to the Mitomo army.
All right. Let's see here. So I got my picture. I'm gonna put my nickname here. This will well. Okay. All right. Well, I'll do that later.
No problem. That's awesome.
Thanks for that. Thanks for
Hopefully,
giving me something else to be addicted to. Appreciate that.
yeah, no, it's so awesome. We're super excited to have you on there. We'll have to hopefully Nintendo now will officially sponsor us as recruiters for the Mitomo Nation. But no, thank you once again so much for being on, Gray. And
Sure.
we're gonna get down to the interview portion, and we kind of want to go about this in such a way where it really give you a lot of free reign to talk about Operation Supply Drop, but obviously like kind of ask questions and stuff. And I thought we could go ahead. You touched on it earlier, and we're a little bit familiar with the organization. We've read a few blog posts. We've looked at your website and checked out some of your tweets and stuff. But there's still obviously, like you were saying, a lot to cover and a lot that you guys do to help out the veterans and stuff and supply these games. And so, um, if you want to maybe just reiterate what you did, like what you said in the intro and stuff, but maybe
Sure.
kind of give like what your elevator pitch would be for Operation Supply Drop and maybe why people would be interested in learning more beyond this episode of Koppai Podcast.
Well, other than the fact that we're awesome. I mean, let's just start right there. Um, so obviously, I'm pretty passionate about what it is I do, and as a community manager, my job is to well, obviously manage the community, but also to talk to people about what it is that we do as a mission. There are a lot of us who are paramilitary. We are veterans, and we realize that when we get out, there is not a whole bunch for us to do to get together as veterans. Imagine being part, so you're in college, so you'll understand this. Imagine being in a fraternity that is all encompassing. You are in that fraternity 24/7, okay?
Yeah.
And you're in that fraternity for 4 years, just as an example. When you get out of college, you're not going to know what life is like without that fraternity.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that we do is we do things with the teams. That's what we call local organizations, local parts of Operation Supply Drop. And we get together with veterans and civilian supporters, and we help reintegrate everybody. So it's kind of like if we were all in the same town, all right, and we had a team event coming up. We try to do one a month per city, and we have about 40 cities, and that's worldwide because we're not just U.S. troops that we help.
Oh, nice.
I'll touch on that in a minute. But so let's say we get together. So we're going to go and we're going to go bowling. You know, we're going to go watch a movie. We're going to go to a museum. You know, or we'll go watch a basketball game or something like that. We're going to get together and we're going to do something together. And it doesn't have to be veteran focused. It just has to be inclusive. So if we have veterans who have disabilities and they can't go bowling for some reason, okay, obviously that would not be something that we want to do.
Yeah.
So that's the teams. That's one of our things. We already talked about the supply drop. That's the cool thing. That's what gets everybody in the door.
Yeah.
But we actually have three main programs. So we have supply drops. We have the teams that we talked about, and we have something we're going to be doing shortly here, which are called thank you deployments.
Okay.
And this is how I put it. It's one way to say thank you for your service. It's one thing to have a bumper sticker that says we support our troops. It's one thing to have a yellow ribbon, green light bulb, whatever it is that you do to say that we support the troops. It is absolutely great that you do that. But I put the challenge out there and say, what are you actually doing to support our troops? Because just saying it doesn't really do anything for any of us.
Yeah.
I mean, lip service is great and it makes you feel good, but what have you actually done? And what we are doing is we are doing actual thank you deployments. We're actually thanking exceptional veterans and giving them a VIP experience they're not going to get anywhere else. An example of this, the best example of this would be we had some veterans that, of course, are exceptional. And when I say that, I don't mean they're missing limbs. I mean they're actually doing stuff. They're actually helping their fellow veterans, helping civilians, work with veterans. We don't care about the sexiness factor, if you will, of missing limbs. So anyway, we had this group of veterans, and Madden NFL had just come out, and we had these guys go and play Madden when it came out with the Chicago Bears.
That's awesome.
Wow.
So of course the Bears are going to take their own, I'm going to play myself,
Yeah.
So they did that, and they played and have fun. What we're going to do coming up is we're going to have a thank you deployment to PAX East.
Oh, wow.
And I'm actually going to be walking around with the veteran. We're going to show him to every single booth. We're going to talk to everybody. We're going to have him play every single game we can. And it's about thanking them. It's not the lip service that you hear a lot. It's actually doing stuff behind it, and that's also what the teams are about. Going out to a movie may not seem like much, but if you don't get out of the house because you have agoraphobia, because you really feel like your life is not in control, or that anything outside of your house is bad, it's a big deal to get somebody to go out and watch a movie. It's a big deal to get somebody to go out with fellow veterans to a public space and do things.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to do that. And it's not just Iraq and Afghanistan, because that's the popular war right now. We have Vietnam veterans. We actually helped a World War II veteran go down and see the World War II memorial. We've helped veterans who have not been in any conflict, because just because they didn't happen to serve during wartime doesn't mean that they're not, they're not valuable. Doesn't mean that they didn't serve. Didn't mean Doesn't mean that their service wasn't honorable. Uh, and I'm actually one of those veterans. I'm one of those that you never would think. 95 to 98 is when I served. So I didn't serve in any kind of battles or anything. I served stateside. I didn't get deployed anywhere. But and if you ask the
Mhm.
combat veterans, they will tell you, although there is a difference between what it is you've done, you both served, and
Yeah.
that's the common denominator. You know.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, because there, I checked out the Twitter and stuff, and there was somewhat of a confusion in my mind because you see something like Operation Supply Drop, and then you also see something like 8-Bit Salute,
Mm-hmm.
and I see like the slogan like making fun where there is none, but then you see like the video game aspect from 8-Bit Salute, and so there was a question in my mind of like, is this all completely based in like the whole video game culture, or is this also like you mentioned, you do things beyond video games where you
Oh
have
yeah.
a movie night or a bowling night, or then you do the other things where you're giving out support and just basically any way that is fun and inclusive and stuff. And so it's really awesome to see that it's not necessarily limiting to just like veterans that happen to be fans of video games, but it's just basically anyone that's a fan of fun, which I don't think anyone is not a fan of fun. And if somehow
Well,
you come in,
Grumpy Cat hates
yeah,
fun.
there you go. Um,
Um, well, to be honest, our focus initially was on video games
okay,
when the organization was founded in 2010, and we remain focused on video games because that is the most generationally relevant tool that we have to talk to people. And so, people going into the service now have played video games. People coming out of the service now have played video games. Imagine being in the desert somewhere and only having, a generator. What are you going to do? You're going to sit in a box all day, and it's 106 degrees outside, and you have nothing to do. So
yeah,
why not have a console that you can play games with your friends? You'll take care of it. You will all take care of it because
yeah,
you all
definitely.
want to use it. Um, so video games do help, and I want to make sure that we're clear. Video games are the center of what we do.
Okay.
It is not the only thing that we do, because we've helped a homeless veteran. That has nothing to do with gaming.
Hmm.
Just helping a homeless veteran get on her feet and get into a place to live and get a job and get connected and do things. And it's all because we're veterans and we take care of our own. Um, the 8-Bit Salute is a program that we have that is year long, where we stream on Twitch.
Okay.
And we have a lot of veterans who do it. We have a lot of civilian supporters who do it. And we're just streaming. That's all we're doing, is having fun. Okay.
Okay.
Now, that said, coming up in May, we have Military Appreciation Month. And it's one of our two big donation drives that we have. We have that, and we have Vettober.
Okay.
Uh, in May, we go all out. We tell everybody, look, normally we don't ask for money. This time we are, because it takes a lot of money to do what we do. And
Yeah.
yes, we get a lot of in-kind donations. And yes, we absolutely want people's time more than we want their money. But in May, it's all about the dollar bills, y'all.
Yeah. Definitely.
And that's unfortunate to say, but I mean, we're a nonprofit. We are a charity. We are GuideStar Gold certified. We have transparency out the wazoo.
Hmm.
Uh, and unfortunately, it costs money to do things. That's just the realist thing about it.
Yeah.
I
No
mean,
doubt. Yeah, I was gonna say we were looking into May Appreciation Month or the streaming and stuff with 8-Bit Salute, and definitely something that we as like Koppai are interested in. We've been talking about once May comes, I'll be heading back home where Zach and I will be in the same spot, and we'll be able to do lots of more Let's Plays and in-person videos. And so the concept of streaming was definitely on our minds, and would definitely be something that we'd want to be helping out with. And we encourage any Koppai listeners who happen to maybe be streaming or do Let's Plays to hop in on that. And it completely makes sense. I don't think there's any sort of um, question or anything in that in the concept of asking for money, especially with something like this. I mean, you talked earlier in the introduction about like how this isn't Amazon Prime free shipping to get these things here. Like this is, you want to make sure it's safe and you want to make sure it's secure, and you have, I mean, you have the hardware and the software to protect, and it needs, I mean, there's so many things that way. I mean, we wouldn't be able to begin to talk about the necessary preparations
The
to,
logistics alone of shipping out something are phenomenal. And I got to give credit to our team for doing a great job. It used to take 90 days minimum
Wow.
to get a supply drop out from when they requested it. And that's the other thing. So we don't just ship things out, they have to ask us for them. They have to
oh,
say, so like you have a unit over there that has a forward operating base and it's, you know, it's like 500 guys over there. They have to send us a request and say, hey, send us stuff. And they have to kind of be specific about what it is they want. And then we can ship it out to them. So we went from 90 days doing that to 45 now. And in some cases less.
nice.
Uh, so they're not waiting too long to get their stuff. We're putting it out there just as soon as we can. Uh, the other thing is that we like to put out new stuff. Um, there's nothing worse than having that whole gamer thing of being behind the times,
Yeah.
of playing old stuff because you don't have the money to play the new stuff. Um, Unfortunately, when you're overseas, your access, not always, but your access to video games is really limited.
Yeah.
And you're not going to get like the new Fallout game. You're not going to get the Division. You're not going to get any of that stuff because it's not over there. Nobody buys it because there's no market. So we have to get new games and we have to send those games overseas. And sometimes that takes money because not all of the, there are some publishers out there who actually want to make money. I know it's crazy.
Yeah. No.
But those guys, I understand that. We ask a lot of the people who donate to us, and we thank them, all of them, for what they do.
Yeah.
Um,
I was gonna ask. So you said you originally it was about a 90-day waiting period, and you got it down to 45. You said.
that's right.
And
Well,
how?
I didn't. Our team
Oh
did.
yeah, yeah. You personally, you figured it out. You did the math. You told the
Nope,
people you
nope,
need to
nope.
know.
It was actually
Um,
Steve Giddings, so shout out to Steve.
Shout out to Steve. Yeah. I was gonna ask if you're down to the 45. I mean, how many? If they have to request it, how many requests do you maybe get within like a year or so, or like what's the average request rate, or however that like term would be defined? Are you
So what you're
getting
really asking is how many drops do we do?
in a sense, yeah, because I was going to ask how many requests do you get, and how many are you actually able with the resources you have and the time that's required to wait. I mean, how many can you send out at a time? How many have you sent out, and those kind of logistics of it. Are there lots of people on like a waiting list, for example, or are you getting tons of requests, or I mean, are people over there consistently asking for things, or what are
Sure.
those logistics behind it?
Well, I can only answer some of that.
Okay.
I can't tell you how many are requested because the requests don't come to me.
Okay.
So I don't know that, but I can tell you that December was probably our biggest month. Of course, Christmas time or Hanukkah time, depending. And we did 55 drops in December
Wow.
alone.
Mm.
55.
In
This
December
is
alone. Wow.
just in December.
That's
uh,
incredible. That's
Yeah.
awesome though. That's
we,
great.
I think we did 30 some in February and about 30 some in January.
Wow.
The nice thing is that we started doing monthly deployment reports. So you really can just go to operationsupply.drop.org, go there and see exactly what it is we did every month.
Cool.
You
Okay.
can see what our teams have been doing. You can see what supply drops we've been doing. Sometimes we have to redact those things because we can't tell you exactly where it is we sent things.
Yeah, definitely.
But speaking of that, one thing you'll see on there commonly is that the Canadian supply drops that we do are redacted, and that is because we don't want to give away Canada's positions wherever they are.
Hmm.
But we do support Canada, the UK, all of the NATO allies that we have, we support them. We also support the Australia and New Zealand, it's called ANZAC, ANZAC, ANZAC troops. We support everybody who is our ally. So we actually have two teams in Canada. We have two teams in the UK. We have one in Germany, and I believe we're about to put one up in either Italy or Spain. I can't remember which. But I mean, we've got these teams everywhere. It's not just a U.S. thing, and we work with our partners overseas, and we actually have teams. We have groups of people for veterans, not of just of our country, but of that country too, getting together and hanging out and doing stuff.
Nice. Yeah. That's
I
totally
mean,
awesome. I mean, is there a common theme I guess you see in maybe requests like you mentioned earlier on the podcast when we were kind of pushing, the NX and the Wii U that most of your requests were for like Xbox Ones and PS4s, and you had mentioned that like people don't want to be behind, and you reference games like Fallout and The Division. Like, is there a game that you really see like hitting home with veterans and stuff that they really like to gather around and play, or like you mentioned Madden and stuff, that was kind of maybe a popular one, or
well, I mean, to be honest with you, anything you can send is fantastic. And
yeah.
we actually do get games from people. They send them to us, and we actually do send those out. Um, we don't really discriminate about what games we get. You know,
Hmm.
if we get a game, we're going to send it out. That's all there is to it. And whether they play it or not, that's up to them.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll get bored enough to play any game. And, and there are some bad games out there. 50 Cent Blood in the Sand, worst game I ever played. Um, but at any rate, we also do supply. So we talked about doing them to bases, right? And
Okay.
that makes sense to most people. But we also do them to bases here in the U.S. We also do them to bases outside of the U.S. And we do them to hospitals
Okay.
uh, because that's where people are getting treatment. And you want to talk about being bored, sitting in a hospital bed all day is
Yeah.
pretty boring. Um, so that's another thing that we do. We do supply drops rarely, but we do supply drops to individual veterans who absolutely have gone above and beyond to really help out other veterans. Um, and that's smaller things, obviously. We also give them shirts, we give them bumper stickers, we give them every little bit of swag we can,
Yeah,
uh,
perfect.
so that it's a slice of home. Um,
Hmm.
I have a friend who I met through the game Halo 2, and
Nice.
he enlisted, and when he enlisted, he had been playing Call of Duty. So he moved from Halo 2 to Call of Duty, and then went in the service, was stationed in Afghanistan, came out 4 years later, and is still playing those games. And that's what makes the most sense to me.
Yeah.
It's most people will think, well, why would you want to play that if you were over there and you saw or did what you did? And the truth of it is because people know that that's not real. I mean, I know that's a
Interesting.
video game.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily true for everybody, but that certainly is something I've seen personally. We actually now have a chief medical officer on board, and he is working with gamers to use gaming to help continue therapy.
Nice. Okay.
So it's not just PTS, but it's also other things that go along with that. It could be agoraphobia, like I talked about. It could be depression. It could be anxiety. Video games actually help with all of that stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm studying right now in my university just the media and the theories behind media, and one of them is like the social cognitive theory and stuff like that about how like for the longest time the social cognitive theory was used behind the concept of if you play violent video games you become more violent, but recently studies have been really pushing the aspect of, well, if you play this kind of video game, it can also make you like happier, it can make you learn more about this cognitive skill or this puzzle or get your mind off this, and can be used in lots of positive ways for, like you said, therapy treatments and that sense of home and so many things in the brain that can help with that. And
Well, if
unfortunately,
you really want to get into it, I mean, it does release endorphins and dopamine.
yeah,
It
definitely.
increases your dopamine production. And I was a hospital corpsman in the Navy, so this is all, stuff right down my alley. But for the layperson, it makes you feel good or it makes you not feel bad. And
Yeah,
that sometimes is more important than trying to feel good.
yeah,
Uh,
definitely.
but at any rate, so that's what we do. That's why you should support us. That's why if you're a veteran or not a veteran, you should be involved with us. I can say that we have many veterans who are working with our organization, And that's usually the best tell of how good an organization is whether or not they have people that are supporting them who are actually part of their census, as they would call it. Um, we have we have more veterans than we have civilians, which is really weird because we're outnumbered quite a
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah.
I believe the last stat I saw said there are 8 million veterans total. And if you consider there are 450 million people in the U.S.,
Yeah.
Yeah. A little outnumbered,
yeah,
but
yeah, that's crazy.
yeah, but no, I mean, definitely. I mean, if those 450 million were, like you said earlier, like kind of really putting actions behind their words. I mean, I don't know how many, like you said, bumper stickers and times you hear like support the troops and stuff. But I mean, if people were to really um, put the action behind that, and not to like kind of
It's not a
what
shaming
yeah,
thing.
yeah,
Yeah,
not to shame them, not to put them down or anything, but to really just like encourage, more of an encouraging thing to be like,
yeah,
imagine what you could do if with like the whole May Appreciation Month, if you were just to put, I mean, we're very familiar with the concept of even $1, like with our whole Patreon thing, like $1 can do so much for someone. And I mean, if you're just, I mean, if like you said, the 450 million were to do that, then you have the 8 million or so troops and stuff. I mean, you have it would just be more than enough to give the relief and the fun that can make all the difference in the world. And unfortunate, we're running low on time. There's honestly a lot more questions that kind of stir in my mind. We'll have to have you on again.
sure.
Maybe later on in May or something, we can work something out to really drive home in the May Appreciation Month. But and by the way, Zach, I'm so sorry if you had any questions that you wanted to ask, but
That's fine.
okay.
We still got about 5 minutes by my clock. I don't know about yours, but
Yeah,
I
no,
still got a
definitely.
few
I,
minutes.
I wanted to, one of the final questions I wanted to ask was we've kind of talked about how video games in the past, like you talk about some of the previous hardware and what's been done. You talk about the current hardware with the modern technology and how that can help people on just like a console and the vast array of games out there. I kind of want to look ahead at Operation Supply Drop, and if you have the vision or something for the future, I want to kind of ask maybe specifically. I mean, we mentioned earlier in the podcast, you have the NX coming out, we have PlayStation VR coming out, we have the HoloLens coming out, and we have these new technologies, especially associated with gaming, coming, where people can experience and play games in a new way. Where the NX is very much so focused, people are assuming on the concept of dual screens and being able to take a game wherever you go. You have VR, which is completely immersing you in a world. And I kind of want to ask, maybe even more so specifically with virtual reality, how you think that could affect something like the Operation Supply Drop, where you could send in a VR unit and a troop could potentially be back home for a moment, or be in Skyrim all of a sudden, and like, I mean, really be in like an area completely different from where they are, and talk about a way to be, for good or for bad, to be somewhere else for a moment. I mean, what do you
Yeah.
see? Where do you see? I mean, with that
So,
question and just with Operation Supply Drop in the future, where do you see all that going?
uh, from a veteran perspective, I can tell you that it probably would be discouraged because uh, you're in what's called a high operating tempo, right?
Hmm.
So you're constantly on alert, you're constantly doing things. It's good to take breaks,
Definitely,
but it's not so good to change your reality. Does that make sense?
definitely, yeah.
Now that's just my opinion. I don't know what OSD is going to do going forward. I can tell you that VR sets are usually very expensive and probably not something that we're going to be shipping overseas unless we get donated just a ton of them.
Yeah, well, we're gonna be
Uh,
helping out with May, so
well, hey, there you go,
we'll be
right?
pushing VR in our stream.
Um, as far as the new Nintendo, I'm sure that's something that we'll be procuring. Um, you got to consider the average console is around $300-400. We
Yeah,
have to go buy them,
yeah.
and we've actually gone to like Best Buy and bought them out of consoles because we're doing a drop. It's better if we have used consoles that we don't have to buy, but the truth of the matter is that we usually have to buy brand new ones. We put them in the games cases. We put in the cases already have the monitor in them, and then they get shipped out with more than one controller. So that's really, if the price point is right, that's what we'll be doing. But as far as VR goes, I don't know.
Interesting.
Um,
Yeah.
again, it's one of those things that I think the military might frown on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah.
Which the military likes frowning on everything. So
Oh, Zach, were you gonna say something or?
No, no, that's fine.
Oh
I
no.
was
Okay.
I was gonna ask maybe about like the handhelds scene. Do you guys do a lot of like drops of Vitas or 3DSs to like individuals?
no,
No,
No.
not really.
no. And here's why. So you're in the middle of a desert.
Right.
How good of a case can you possibly have for one of those systems?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, cell phones are pushing it. You know,
Yeah.
uh, games cases are pushing it.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
Yeah, I was
uh,
worried. I was worried because you said you started in 2010, so that was probably after the whole Xbox Ring of Death sort of thing, where Xboxes were getting heated, like overheated left and
mhm.
right. Like probably wasn't too much of a problem for Operation Supply Drop because I think if you're doing supply drops after that, probably wasn't too much. I mean, but do you have, I mean, probably like you just mentioned, there are still situations where you have a PlayStation overheating, and or are they usually pretty good about that?
Well, the overheating thing that happened with the Xbox actually had nothing to do with heat itself. It had to do with the internal machinations of the
Yeah.
Xbox.
Mm.
Um, no, they deal with it just fine. I mean,
Okay.
they work with it, man. You know, if it's 106, it's 106, and they just make it work.
Yeah, protected PlayStation 4 at all costs, and you kind of mentioned that they, yeah, if they have that console, that's like they're all going to work together and share the time to do it, and so also kind of guess maybe goes back to maybe why they wouldn't have the handhelds and stuff is you send someone a 3DS and only one person can use that at a time, where four people can gather around and play, like I mean, like you mentioned Madden or something, and
Hmm.
have
Super
the so
Smash Bros.
yeah, Super Smash Bros. I wonder if that's
By the
if
way, I know it's not a Nintendo game, but I give a shout out since you mentioned Super Smash Brothers. Brawlhalla, if you're a
Yeah.
PC gamer or a
mm,
PS4 gamer, because it's coming to PS4 soon. Brawlhalla,
Brawlhalla.
fantastic game, and they gave us thousands of codes to give away to troops.
oh wow,
So
yeah, awesome.
yeah, we got to give them some love.
No problem. Yeah, yeah. It's interesting. I wonder, and once again, I wish we had more time to talk about it. I wonder, do you? I guess maybe the final question is: do you have like any sort of? Is there problems with that with local cooperative play? Because you have, I mean, PlayStation and Xbox. I mean, do they have to have like LAN parties or like online like connections, or how does that work? Because I mean, with the
Yeah,
PlayStation 4, for example, there's very few games that go beyond maybe two players, if they even have two players as an option nowadays. It's more so like online based. While
sure.
Nintendo, for example, Nintendo is like the bread and butter of local play, sit on the couch, have four people with a Wiimote, everyone playing together.
Yeah, couch co-op is always a great thing. Unfortunately, they don't have very good internet sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes they have great internet. You know, it really just depends. Uh, they usually end up landing things if they have to.
Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, so many more things I'd want to ask about, but I mean, we'll have to have you back on and stuff in May, and um, get more information for the stream and stuff, and we can talk about that after the show. But yeah, thank you once again so much for being on.
Absolutely.
You are actually, I believe, yeah, the very first special guest on Koppai Podcast,
Ah,
episode 17. So you are making history for the Koppai Productions,
ooh.
and we are just so honored to have you as our first guest,
Yes,
and
thank you.
really a cool topic to discuss, and really gets me thinking and stuff, and we're definitely going to try to support you moving forward and stuff, especially in May, and encourage everyone else listening. And to our audience, thank you so much for listening. If you are a normal Koppai listener, thank you for um, uh, for adjusting to the new format of an interview segment. We tried to make sure it was within our kind of normal Koppai episode with the news and Nintendo discussion, but I definitely want to leave enough room for Gray here. And so, Gray, where can they find you on Twitter? I mean, Operation Supply Drop. They can probably just Google that and find lots of information there. But
Well, sure. Yeah. I mean, you can go to operationsupply.org. You can contact me. My name is Gray, Gray, like
mm,
the color, gray at operationsupply.org. You can email me. You can also reach me on Twitter. I'm at Gray Hogan. I know it's really crazy. Uh, and you can, of course, do the 8-bit salute. That's the number 8 BIT. SALUTE on Twitter. There are so many ways to get a hold of me, man. It's not even funny. I mean, you've got my email and you've got my Twitter. And I'm on Twitch. I'm Operational Supply Drop on Twitch.
Give out like your home phone number, your
919-619-9808. Feel free to use it. I do accept drunk dials, but be prepared. I was in the Navy and I know how to handle that stuff. I'm just saying. Just saying.
And now you can add them also on Mitomo. So
that's right. I'm on Mitomo, and I'm Gray Hogan on there too. I know, craziness.
Perfect. I feel so glad that with you on Koppai, we were able to get you on Mitomo. We're definitely a cool way to leave on. So yeah, thank you so much. And if you're a new listener, maybe you tuned in to listen to Gray and learn more about Operation Supply Drop, be sure to check out our other content. We have Nintendo discussions. We have discussions on Mitomo, Pokken Tournament. We're going to have lots more review discussions coming in May, June, July, with videos accompanying those. We have a Super Smash Brothers music video, which we think is pretty silly. And we're also going to be starting a blog and hopefully turn those blogs into sort of monologue vlog videos for people to listen to. So really just nonstop content moving forward. And we also have our 2 exclusive episodes over on Patreon with more exclusives and rewards to come. And as we mentioned, there's the giveaways, and we're also giving away a Nintendo NX to anyone that supports us on Patreon once we hit a certain milestone on there. And so lots of stuff to do. And as we mentioned, Operation Supply Drop has a lot of stuff moving forward, and it's going to be exciting to see how, as they get more support and technology advances, and to get those wait times even lower, and to get the requests out faster, and it's just going to be so cool to see how all this evolves moving forward. And so, once again, thank you so much for listening to Koppai Podcast episode 15. And Gray, every episode we end with just this rallying chant of Koppai, and so feel free to join in. We usually absolutely butcher it because we're recording over a Skype call and we try to get in unison, but if you want to hop in, you can. But,
is it just saying Koppai?
Well, it's here. You just follow our lead. Zach, you ready?
All right.
Ready.
There we go.
Onmanimashita Koppai #1 US.
Oh man,
Awesome.
That was good.
Yes. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks so much, guys.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You still there? Okay.
Yep, I'm still here.
Whew. Well, cool.
Cool.
I just noticed it. I think like in the first story, you were like, "We have a rumor about," and I'm like, "Oh no, Zach! Like I hope you're okay. Like I hope you get it together or something." And like I think by the time we were talking about like the monolith rumor and stuff, or like or at least specific like Mitomo and stuff, it was almost just back to being me and you again.
Yeah.
You know, and I just noticed like the very first line of the first story was very much so maybe like even like a little voice quiver. It was like in the first piece of news we have, like someone put a gun to your head and was like, "You better read this first piece of news right now."
Oh man.
Oh man.
That's great.
But
Oh man. Yeah. Well, I think I might head off. Stop it and listen back. Make sure it all sounds good.
yeah, hopefully it recorded.
Yeah.
Right on. Cool. Yeah, I'll talk to you on Facebook.
Yep. Talk to you there. Bye.
Bye.